That morning, the sun radiated its soft, yet warm rays, creeping over my skin with a pleasant warmth. The quiet and peaceful sounds of nature greeted my ears. The wind blew slowly, touching the leaves that were still wet with last night's dew. I walked with light steps towards the rice fields, a place that always brings happiness to a tired heart. The newly harvested rice fields looked vast, stretching out with a stretch of land full of traces of sickle marks that had now dried up. The remaining straw lay randomly on the surface of the ground, drying under the increasingly high sunlight. Among the piles of straw, I began to observe carefully. I knew that small snails would appear between the gaps in the soil and scattered leaves. As usual, I didn't have to wait long. One by one, the snails emerged slowly, moving slowly with their shiny brown shells. I smiled, a simple joy that never failed to appear every time I hunted snails. The snails were like old friends who always waited for me in the same rice field. I was in no hurry. There was something beautiful in this simplicity, a silence that was only occasionally disturbed by the sound of rustling leaves or the chirping of birds flying high. I walked along each row of straw, my eyes tracing every curve of the ground, looking for signs of life. Unconsciously, my hands had picked up one by one the snails that I found, holding them carefully so as not to damage their fragile shells. It felt like finding treasure in every corner of the rice field. Out there, the world felt far away. There was only me and the rice fields, the snails, and the blue sky that stretched endlessly. I felt at peace, feeling a bond with nature that was so tightly woven. There was nothing to worry about. Every step felt light, like there was no burden. I enjoyed every second of this solitude, absorbing the happiness that could not be expressed in words. When finally the small basket I was carrying began to fill up, I stopped for a moment and sat on a large rock lying on the edge of the rice fields. The sun that was getting higher radiated golden light, giving color to the entire scenery. The breeze felt increasingly refreshing, and I closed my eyes for a moment, letting the wind greet my face. In my heart, I felt grateful to be able to feel this beauty, to be a part of nature that was so simple, yet so rich in peace. Joy that came without having to be sought, just present. That's life. Sometimes happiness comes from the simplest things, like hunting snails in the rice fields on a bright morning. Now I continued my steps and my eyes stared intently at the calm surface of the water, as if inviting me to come closer. The remaining straw scattered around the rice fields formed narrow paths, and I continued to walk along the rows. Every now and then, I bent down, looking down carefully. There was something interesting in the clear water that flowed slowly, mixed with the remains of the harvested crops. A small, almost invisible movement crossed the surface. I knew it, a snail, a small creature that likes to hide underwater. With slow and careful movements, my hand reached forward, reaching for the snail that was moving slowly on the surface of the water. I could feel its slippery shell, slightly wet from the water droplets that still covered its body. The agile hand held it carefully, making sure nothing was damaged. I lifted it slowly, watching the soft shine that reflected the sunlight, as if the snail also felt how beautiful this morning was. I walked through every gap in the rice fields, walking from one point to another. Behind the piles of straw that were starting to dry, behind the green grass that was slowly growing, I knew the snails would appear. Sometimes I had to crouch, sometimes almost duck to the ground, because they were so close to the damp surface of the ground. The snails were like friends who never tired of waiting for me. Every step I took seemed to bring back memories of a long journey in the same rice fields, year after year. Unconsciously, I smiled to myself, looking at the catch in my hand. The small basket I was carrying was starting to fill up, but I didn't want to rush. There was a certain joy in searching, in finding little things that are usually missed. Every second felt so precious. Around me, the sounds of nature seemed to blend in perfect harmony. The gentle breeze, the rustling sound of fallen straw, and far above, the chirping of birds greeting each other. The sky was getting brighter. The sun that was getting higher in the sky gave off increasingly bright light, but not stinging. I felt like I was in a place so calm, where all the anxieties of the world could be left behind. Nothing was pressing, nothing to chase. Here, in the middle of the vast and open rice fields, I felt as if time had stopped, giving space for peace to fill my heart. Every time my hand reaches for a snail, I feel closer to nature, more and more aware of how simple and full of wonders life is. It doesn't need to be something big, it doesn't need to be a brilliant achievement, just feel happiness in every step and in every small discovery. The snails, which only live in this open rice field, teach me about patience, about serenity, and about the beauty in simplicity. Eventually, my little basket was almost full. But I didn't want to stop yet. I kept walking, exploring the vast rice fields, as if they would never end. Every corner I encountered was a new world, full of mystery and happiness waiting to be discovered. And in the midst of that journey, I felt so free, so alive, with a heart full of gratitude for the timeless beauty of the morning.